Hi, my name is Chris Egbuchunam. I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me. It's been it'll be a great experience for sure, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Um, so my current job title is I'm a financial services consultant at Crow. So Crow is a public accounting firm, and I'm based out of the Dallas office, but Crow is headquartered in Chicago. They have offices all over. Yeah, so I just started in April, so it's been a really good experience so far. I just got off work actually, and then it's a lot of travel too. So I'll be flying out in a week or 2 weeks to go to Louisiana. So it's been a good experience so far. Um, so how did I get my current role? So I actually got this role through I interned at this company last summer. So I did an internship from it was from July to August last summer, and it was a great experience, honestly. Wish I would have did more internships throughout my time in college. So that was the summer before my last semester. So I had two internships. I had one with Texas Instruments and then one with Crow. And I knew once I finished the one with Crow that this is where I wanted to be moving forward once I graduated. Um, so it was a really great experience and good opportunity for me to have, great learning experience as well. So I got that through a virtual career fair, which was through an organization called Alpha. So I forgot exactly what that stands for, but it's basically it's an association for professional students, or Hispanic professional students. So obviously you don't have to be a Hispanic to join. I was a part of the organization, but it was just a good opportunity for anyone looking to further their professionalism or just learn more. So they had interview preps. They had just reaching out, talking to recruiters or someone who you might potentially want to do something similar that they're doing currently in their position. So I did that. Um, and I was also a part of NABA when I was in college as well. So that's National Association for Black Accountants, um, which is a pretty similar group. So they pretty much do the same thing. It's just a different title as far as from my experience from it though. Um, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you. I really enjoyed both of those organizations throughout my time in college. My college career my time didn't get cut short. It was really different because of COVID. Um, so I spent a good portion of it is working from home. So I did the internship working from home. I did the a lot of classes working from home. So I found that that was a really good opportunity for me, honestly, because I was supposed to do study abroad in Germany, but because of COVID, everything got shut down. So I definitely still recommend doing study abroad. Like if you have the opportunity, definitely do that. It's just you can put it on your resume, even if you don't work over there. You can put you did study abroad, so it shows that you can adapt to a different culture. You can adapt to changes that are thrown at you because you're basically being placed in another city and you're there for however many months that you choose. So it would have been a good experience. I'm still happy the outcome that I had. Um, so I actually lost my job too when COVID started. So I was working at the gym and I was working at the career center. And then since the campus shut down, that I wasn't able to work there, obviously. So I started working at a job called Trader Joe's, which is like a grocery store, basically. So I was there. Yeah, I was there. I was there while I was working. So I was working full time. I was taking classes full time, and I was also prepping for interviews and learning how to do that. Um, so that was a really busy time for me because I'd wake up at like 6 sometimes, and I'd have an interview for some company and I'd have to study for that ahead of time. I'd have to get the documentation ready for that so I could, because I'm more of a person who, if I study it, I'm better at, giving a reply, giving an answer. I couldn't just think, off the top of my head. So that's just how I prepare for interviews and any type of speaking engagement. Um, but yeah, definitely I recommend Alpha and NABA as far as those organizations and any organization that has anything to do with helping you progress professionally or just as a person overall. Anything you can put on your resume, and if you get like a leadership position in there, I would say make the most of it because you never know how that'll help you moving on in the future. Did I enlist in the military? No, I did not. Reply received scholarships. I did. So I w- I was a so I went to 3 colleges overall throughout my college career. So I started off in Marshall, Texas at East Texas Baptist where I was playing basketball there for a year. Then I transferred to so while I was there, I was on a academic scholarship. Then I transferred to a 2-year school in Houston called Lone Star, and I was also there. I was there for like a year and a half, and I was there during Hurricane Harvey, excuse me, as well. So a lot of that just moved online for that basically a semester. Um, but when I was at Lone Star, I received financial aid, and I was also worked in financial aid, and that was really a good opportunity as well because they'll tell you about a lot of scholarships that it's not as public or not as known to other people. So I would say, even if you don't work in financial aid, I would say get, close with like at least a few people that are there, like some of the full-time people that are in financial aid, because you never know how that'll turn around and, bless you in the future. So thankfully, um, I was able to get that job there because I was in another department before I started working there, but I kept going down there so much to check on my financial aid to make sure everything was good because I had issues in the past with the previous school about, we need this, now we need this. So that's another thing. Make sure you stay on top of your I guess whatever work you're doing, if you're especially when it comes to money, because you don't want to be in the middle of the semester and they call you saying, "Hey, where's the rest of this money?" So I would say definitely take care of all that up front while you can. Sometimes you got to go back and you got to follow up because they won't always follow up with you. So make notes about that. It's something I, still do today as a professional. So I did work in financial aid. Um, I was very social with the people in financial aid, so they told me about a lot of different scholarships and opportunities I could apply for. Even when I left there to go to UT Dallas. So when I was came to UT Dallas, which is where I graduated from last December, I didn't work in financial aid, but I made sure that I was pretty much communicating with one person. So that was another thing that I learned that was very helpful. Even if they have like a pool basically where you say you check in and then someone random from financial aid will just come and help you. I always make sure to ask for that one person over and over again because they know your situation. They know, what it is you're there for the most part. If you keep coming back, and then if you do need to follow up with someone, you just have one person you need to follow up with. Uh, so yeah, I received scholarships. I received financial aid. I did take out loans too. Um, but I see that as an investment really. So I started work in April. Uh, I paid off some of my loans already. I'm trying to see if that forgiveness plan comes in. Uh, yeah, so I'm waiting on that application to kick in. And then after that, I'll continue to pay on it. And especially because of COVID, I think what is it? They pushed back my, I guess, start date for having to pay. So I've been paying on the loans without them accruing interest yet. So that's also something big to look at too. So making sure you want to pay off those loans before they start adding up in interest. Um, and I majored in finance too. So with a finance degree, I'm not gonna say it's easy to get a job, but I feel like for me there were more opportunities than what I was previously majoring in. So I majored in business management my first year of school, and then I did like econ in at Lone Star. And then when I transferred to UT Dallas, I did finance. And I mean, obviously you can get a career and in either one of those majors, but I just chose finance when I got there. Got to UT Dallas, and I mean it's paid off as of right now. Um, so I definitely would say look at that. Look and see if you do want to major in something. Make sure, and if you're gonna get a loan on something that you're majoring in, make sure it's not something you could do cheaper, like a community college. Honestly, that's where I didn't have to pay anything to go to school. I was basically making money to go to school there because of the scholarships and financial aid. So if you can go from like a 4-year university and you can get the same certification or the same degree or something like that that you're looking for your specific major at a community college, I would say do that. Or if it's like more of an apprenticeship type of situation, I would say definitely search those out too. If it's so I do think you need a degree or some type of certification to be for like a AC repair person or something like that, for example. But it's also really important to get that experience on the job too. So I would say seek those out before you do apply for a loan. How did I become interested in finance? Um, that's a good question. So with finance, like I mentioned before, that was my third degree change. And so I went to UTD. I wasn't too sure about what I exactly wanted to do after school. But I spoke with my friend's mom, and she was an accountant, and she was telling me one of the most reliable degrees to get in business was a finance or an accounting degree. And I looked into accounting. I didn't really like it as much, so I did finance, even though I ended up working at an accounting firm. But I got a finance degree, and it you'll learn a lot about a lot of stuff with finance. Whatever major you get, you're gonna learn a lot about that specific topic, but it might not always apply to what you do outside of once you graduate, because you never know what you're gonna do when you graduate until you start, honestly. Because you can sign and you can say you're going there, and then I don't know, you can switch, change your mind, and you can go somewhere else and could do something completely different. So it's important to learn how to learn in a short amount of time once you go to college. That's really majority of my college experience was learning how to learn in a short amount of time because even for your class, you can do really well in the class and it could still be a finance related class, but you move on to the next class, it could really have nothing to do with what you learned in the previous class. It's something different. So that was something I learned early on. It was about retaining information, for a certain amount of time, and then if you wanted to keep up with it, that's perfectly fine, but you're gonna have to do that on your own because you're not gonna be able to take the same class over and over and over again if you want to graduate. So, I would say definitely that was a big one. Time management too, because when I first went to school, I was on the basketball team, so that helped with time management. And I was also well, the second one Second s what is it? The second school I went to, it was a community college, so I stayed at home. I was on the basketball team, but I transferred during hurricane harvest. Everything was online pretty much anyway. I just had to show up to practice. So that was, fairly easy. When I got to Dallas, I didn't know anybody in Dallas. I had only been to the city, like, a few times. I didn't have a car, so it was a struggle, I guess, making it to places on time, at least, making it to classes on time. And there are some classes where, I mean, they don't really care if you show up at all. You can show up late, you can show up early, you can not show up. And then there are some professors where if you show up, 5 minutes late, they won't let you in the class. So it's important to, I mean, obviously you want to go to class, you're paying for it, but to also know your professor too. Because there's some, if you tell them ahead of time, hey, I'm not feeling well or something like that, they might cut you some slack. So definitely keep track of the syllabus that you're gonna get and at least write down the information or the teacher and the teacher's assistant's email because that's how you're gonna get in contact with them. Um, so yeah, definitely time management was something big for me. And then also, I was very much an introvert when I started school too. I didn't really come out of that until maybe like a year ago, after maybe during the pandemic and afterwards as well. Um, because I was so used to I'd always played basketball or some sport up until I transferred to Dallas because I tore my ACL in the basically a tryout. I tore my ACL, so like I obviously wasn't able to be on the team. So that was my first time not really being around athletes, and it was harder for me to start up a conversation when it didn't relate to sports or if it didn't like I didn't have a need for something because I could talk to people who played sports and I could talk to people in my classes who were like they were better at a subject than I was and I knew how to get information. But if it came to just like casual conversations to, interviews, just to getting to know someone outside of sports or school, I would ask a few questions and I would just sit there and just kind of like smile 'cause I really didn't know what else to say. Um, so I definitely learned that. That's one another, I guess, blessing in disguise for me tearing my ACL was I learned professionalism. I learned how to have conversations, how to interview, because those weren't really my focus when I first went to school. I was playing basketball and I was getting good grades. That's really all I cared about because that's all that's if you play a sport, that's all they really tell you to do is to get good grades and to be good at your sport. But it's really important to think about life afterwards. So I mean, even if you do go to professional, that's great, that's perfect. Um, but when you are professional, you're gonna have even more attention on you than you would if you're someone in my shoes, obviously. So that's even more so, you want to have your stuff in order to, be able to talk to people, be able to get what you need, manage money for sure, because you don't want to end up broke after 5 or 6 years or something like that. Um, so I learned those. Managing money was something I learned too because when I first transferred to UT Dallas, I didn't have a job. Or I had a job. I was a referee on campus, but it was limited because I could only walk everywhere. I didn't have a car. So I was referee on campus and I worked at a gym and I worked at a Thai restaurant. I was terrible at the Thai restaurant. I like Thai food, but like I'd never eaten it before I started working there. I was messing up people's orders, but it was good experience. For it was good for me slightly. It was money. The owner was nice and it was close. I could walk to the restaurant. But I was not very good at that job. When I was in college, my first year, I was on the basketball team, so I had like even less time, so I didn't have an official job. I would buy shoes from, wherever and just sell them on eBay. So try to live off the profit off of that, which it was a struggle sometimes if like a shipment got delayed or somebody wasn't buying, but it definitely helped me to manage money more so because I had to, you have a certain amount, you can't go over that amount or else you just broke. And then it's really, I guess marketing too. So it works taking pictures of the shoes in the right places. What can I say? And like the title to make it more appealing to people. What can I put to where when they search for a certain shoe that, my shoe could be one of the top ones that they see. So it was a lot of skills that I didn't know I was building when I was doing that. Um, and then what does my day to day look like for this job? So I was actually gone for 2 months, pretty much 2 months with this job. So I'm in consulting, financial services consulting. So with that, um, and I was all over the place. I was in Kentucky, Arizona, New Mexico. I was in Vegas for a week. So I've been to all different time zones, and I was doing risk assessment. So I'd basically go into a bank that's one of our clients, and I would do a risk assessment. So I would see, where their security cameras were, if their ATM was functioning properly, how were they managing like the flow of people that were coming in and out, were they being efficient, were they following all the rules from federal rules down to the bank level rules. So that was something I was doing. And then before that, I was working from home pretty much majority of the time. So that was a really big switch from working from home to being on a plane every Monday and Friday. Um, and then I was in a different time zone too for the most part. So it was a really big adjustment. But I got back 2 weeks ago and I worked from home last week. This week I'm at the client site. But it's in Dallas, so it's just a drive. Next week or 2 weeks, I'll be in Louisiana. And after that, I'm not sure. I could be working from home. I could be at a client. So I'm not really sure about that because it's our busy season right now. Um, but and I guess for the work, so when I'm working from home, when I'm working at the client side, I go through, it's called work papers. So I'll be assigned work papers from either the senior consultant or senior manager, the manager of the project. So my job is really project based. So I think of it as pretty much pickup basketball. So the manager will pick you up for a team, and I'll be on that team from anywhere from like 1 week to I was on this last project for 2 months basically. Um, so you'll be doing that, and then once your time is over, you roll off and you go to the next project. So this project currently, I'm at the client site, and we'll have meetings with the client face to face if they're here, virtually if they're not. One of my team members is he's out of Chicago, so he wasn't able to make it. So we'll loop him into the call. We'll talk to them about any questions that we have, any because we'll go through with the work papers and it might require a document. They might submit the document, but we might have questions over that document. So we'll have that meeting. We might need additional information, so we'll send up follow-up emails. So that's pretty much what my day-to-day looks like right now. Um, most critical skill set, most critical skill set or experience to succeed in your role. Um, Definitely time management, for sure, and then pretty much the same thing, learning, pretty quickly. Because since this is more of an accounting-based job and I didn't study accounting in school, I was very confused. Even during my internship, I was really confused. Started off again in April. I was pretty confused, and I mean, it started in April and it's what, September. I'm still confused on like a lot of stuff that I do. Just because like I'll have an engagement for 2 weeks and I might do something completely different like the next 2 weeks. So it's always learning something new in a pretty short amount of time. Because if you don't, it can just add up, and you don't want your engagement that you're doing this week to roll over into next week because just even more work that you have to do. Because the work's going to get done regardless. So you might as well do it now and ask all the questions that you can now while you just have that one client as opposed to next week when you have two. Um, so definitely time management, learning pretty quickly. Another thing, don't be afraid to ask questions, um, which has been very helpful because if you don't know, you just don't know. You can give it your effort, you can try. Definitely try first before you ask a question. Um, but if it's not making sense, you're trying, and it's, costing you time at a certain point, then you just go to someone who does know the answer, who you might know, who might, um, they might know the answer. Um, so definitely those are really important in my role, and also being, um, I wouldn't say social because I don't have to be social at my job, but it's more ties so into asking questions or reaching out to people. So in my company, there have been positions that I've came across, or I've seen people in positions that I came across I didn't know existed. So it's connecting, it's marketing yourself, it's building your network. So I connected with people all over Crow, so from multiple states, and we had a conference in Florida, in June, and I was able to go to that, and I was able to meet a lot of people that I had met virtually, so that was a really great experience. So definitely build your network, is something that I would say is really key. Not necessarily for this specific role, it's helpful in this role, but just for your career overall, because wherever you end up, you're gonna need a network in order to do well where you are. And then you never know where those people go, and if you do a good job in their eyes, and if you stay connected with them, they have something open up that could be better than what you're doing now. They could refer you, and you can get that position. So I would definitely say those are key. What do you like most about your job career? It was meeting people. So even when I was gone for 2 months, pretty much, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like that, honestly, but it was nice to meet people. Um, it was 'cause I've met people from, I told you, all over the different states. So I'm from Dallas, or I'm not from, I live in Dallas now, and the Cowboys are really popular wherever you go. I personally don't like them. I don't think they're very good, but that's always like a conversation starter. And they always ask me, how they're gonna do this year. I don't know, probably subpar, but it's it was nice, and I like to talk to the people about that part of like where I stay. Ask them what's their do in whatever city I'm in. What restaurants would you recommend in this area? So I like that about my job. I do like the fact that I'm not really doing the same thing all the time. So I know with I guess most corporate jobs outside of consulting or I guess audit too, you have weekly tasks, you'll have monthly tasks, and you might have quarterly tasks. I have some of that, but it's also like I'm looking at something different. I'm on a different team, so my team won't be the same this year as it is next year, for example. I'm talking to different people. So my manager who was here, she's from Louisiana. She flew in this week for because we're on site this week. But next week, I have 2 different managers that I talked to. One is out of Florida, and another one is out of Dallas, actually. So it's always connecting and meeting new people, which I do enjoy. Um, and my job has been pretty big on, um, I guess, time. So we have time when you need it. So we don't have like a certain amount of time of PTO. So I need to take advantage of that. I've only taken 1 day off since I've been here. Um, so it's a nice perk that I haven't used yet. So it's a good option. Um, but yeah, so what piece of advice would you give to a young person interested in your career field? So I would definitely say start early. I mean, that's one big piece that I would say that's something I wish I would have done even though I was playing basketball, is to start early. So I wasn't so when I transferred to UT Dallas, that was my last school I graduated from. I transferred pretty much as a sophomore. Um, and that was a really different environment. So I went from hanging out with athletes, which I mean they pretty much all made good grades or decent grades. And then I started hanging out with people who were more career focused. So it was different. The conversations were slightly different because they would ask you, have you applied here yet? I was like, I don't even know what that is. I don't have my resume ready. I didn't have a suit when I first got there, which is something you at least get like a suit top because you'll never know if you're doing like an interview like this. You get the jacket, the shirt, the tie. You can wear shorts. They're not gonna know. But I didn't have any of that ready. My resume was 10 pages long when I first transferred to UT Dallas. Had stuff from like high school on there. I had like high school track, and I was like a sophomore in college at that point. So I was not ready, I guess, for those type of interviews because I had jobs since I was 16, but it was jobs where I already knew people there and they weren't any like I worked at a barbecue place. I worked at a baseball field. I worked at, even or financial services or financial aid when I was at Lone Star. I knew the lady there, so I just submit my application and my resume as like a formality. But I don't even think they looked at it because I already knew that I was the person that they wanted. They just needed that for their records. So no one, I was never forced to have a good resume. I didn't know what a good one was. I thought mine was good until I got to UT. That's where everyone is 1 page. Resume is 1 page, at least for business students, is 1 page. I'm not sure about engineering or bio or anything else like that, but business students is 1 page. I didn't know resume paper existed, so there's paper specifically for resumes that's like a little thicker. It's a slightly different color. It definitely stands out more uh, as compared to like a regular piece of paper that someone has a resume on. Um, I didn't know how to send emails properly. So my email formation wasn't the best because I never really had to send emails like that before I got to UT Dallas. And if I did, it was to a professor, and it didn't really matter. They would most times they wouldn't even reply. Honestly, you had to go to them in person. So learning how to send emails, learning how to talk to professionals, um, getting comfortable being uncomfortable because I even when I first got a suit, I was really uncomfortable wearing suits. I didn't like it. I wasn't used to it. I wore them. I think I wore one maybe a couple of times, like a funeral, but that was pretty much it. And I didn't know how to tie a tie, so I had someone else tie it for me. But they were like a lot shorter than I was, so like I guess the bottom part of the tie, it like stopped like here, so it looked like a clown tie for like the longest time till I figured out how to tie it on my own. And I joined a business organization too when I was in school. It's called Alpha Kappa Psi. So that really it fast forwarded, I guess, my learning process for being professional. Um, because we had a case interview, for example. So they gave us from mine it was something about John Deere remanufacturing, and it was they had a problem. Basically, how would you go about fixing this problem if you were someone um, if you had a position within John Deere? You'd have to give like a reason why. You have to ask for. They want you to ask for more information if they have it. Um, and then we also had a regular interview to where they ask you, very common question is tell me about yourself. So that's for your elevator pitch that comes in handy. And It's just a lot of information I did not know until I joined that organization, or it's a fraternity. I didn't really It's not really one to me. It's been like a business organization where you have to, like, apply to get in. You have to go through, like, a rush process, but it was really helpful, at least from my experience. But also you could get the same experience, you get the same information if you go to your career center for the most part. So my career center at least was very helpful. I actually worked there for 2 months before COVID started, so I started in February. Or February of 2020, and then it just kinda closed down after that. But when I was there, when I was on campus, I was talking to the same one person again, and even today, I still talk to him. I still have questions for him. I sent him my resume 2 weeks ago to see if there's anything I can update or change, or how does this look? Um, so I would say try going to your career center, and if your career center isn't very helpful, I would say look outside of that, look at organizations. Definitely Alpha for sure, NABA, no matter what race or ethnicity you are. There's also organizations, there's probably something for like Pride too. So there's no matter what you identify as, there's something that is built around you that is professional as well. So I would say do that, and I would say lay a foundation too. So it's a lot about sacrificing what you have going on now for what you potentially want in the future, even though it's not a guarantee. So I sacrificed going out a lot in college. I went out more my last semester, but that was because I already had my offer letter, so I was pretty much good. So I had a lot of fun last semester, but before that, I was pretty much just working. I was going to classes for the most part. I was going to study halls. I was trying to get everything I could. I was interview prepping. So it took a lot for me to be able to enjoy that last semester, but it was worth it because I mean, I'm here now because of the work that I put in and all the people that have helped me and all the I cried a lot too. I got rejected so many times when I first started interviewing. I got a lot of rejections, and then it would be first you submit your resume, you don't get a call back. Second time you do it, they might call you back and tell you, we're not looking for anything right now. That's all right. Third time, you get the first round interview, and then after that, you get told you don't get it. And then you go to like the second round interview, don't get it. Third round, don't get it. So it took a long time for me to start getting offers. So it's about being consistent for sure. Using I what I used when I was doing it was, the offer letters. I would always follow up and ask them, is there anything I could work on that you saw from my interview process that, I could use next time or that I could just change overall, my resume, how was that? Uh, and most times they would reply, someone from recruiting or maybe the hiring manager, whoever it was, they would reply and, kind of tell you what you could have done better, what you could do better in the future. So definitely take that to heart. So not all the criticism you get is going to be just terrible criticism. Like it's majority of the time it'll be constructive criticism. If it's coming from someone who's in a professional setting, most times it'll be constructive criticism. So I would say take that, even if it might hurt your feelings at first, that's fine. What I would always think about, like, these people don't know me personally, so they can't not dislike me. So it's not about them not liking me. I just might not be the good fit right now for whatever they have open. So I would take that and I would move with it, go on with that, and then learn off of that. So building that foundation and um, so yeah, there's definitely those. So it's a lot of soft skills is what's it called. So it's not, learning Excel is great, but if you learn Excel but you can't talk to people, then you're not gonna get very far in like your interview process. If you know how to code or something for finance, there's some places in finance where you need to know how to code, um, but you don't know how to follow up in an interview. You don't know how to apply. Your resume is pretty bad. You're not gonna get your foot in the door unless you're just that amazing. And even though you need to have a connection to get in, if you're just that bad of a interviewer. So I would definitely say work on your soft skills, and then from there work on your harder skills. So that's the Excel. That's whatever program that you're looking to go into, or whatever job you're looking to go into, whatever they do for programming. I would say work on those, because or it's easier for someone to teach you how to do Excel as opposed to them trying to teach you how to be like a better person, basically. So if you lie, it'll come out eventually that you're a liar. So it's gonna be hard for you to get a job. If you brag, if you're cocky, it'll be only so long until that comes off as confidence and it starts to come off as like, okay, this is just annoying. We don't want to really work around him. So when you're interviewing, it's majority of the time, in my experience, I haven't really worked a lot with the people that I've interviewed with, but they see if you're a good fit for the place that they might send you. So it's always just come across as a nice person, or at least try to be like every day as well. Uh, I'm pretty laid back, honestly. I get my work done. I ask questions. When it's time to do stuff, I do it. But outside of that, like I'm pretty chill. Like I work out. I'm a personal trainer, and that's pretty much I go out to eat, and that's pretty much all I really do. So it's pretty easy for me to like adapt to a certain environment, just because for one, I moved around a lot. Even when I was in Houston, we moved around a lot. We moved a lot, and then when I went to college, I moved to 3 different cities for college. But I was also, it's I guess harder to dislike me because for one, I'm not going to talk a lot. So if I have a question, I'll ask you something, but I'm not ever going to be talking behind your back because for one, that's just not who I am. So, and people are always watching you too. So even if you think you're by yourself in the office or something like that, or you have an Instagram and you don't see anybody from your company follow you, but someone has seen your Instagram at that company, more than likely. So I would say just do those things, and you should be good. That's a good foundation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Christopher. Excellent.
Yeah,
I
no problem.
love this chat. It's always good and refreshing just to hear how people got started. We all have a story, and it's always enlightening, excuse me, to just hear, how people got into the career that they're in, what it looks like. Because, of course, we see these roles, but it's the steps to get you to where you currently are. And
Goodbye.
it's like you gave nuggets, and I'm not sure if you're younger than me. You look younger than me, so I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. It's refreshing. These are the things that not just students, not just people who are going to college, but adults as well, need to remember on behalf of, like you talked about, the hard skills, the soft skills, even being confident in, is it the cockiness, or are you a good team player? Do you work well with others? Like, those things are very important because now you can have the skill set, but if you're not good for the environment of the job and you're not good with the team, it's like, do we really want to hire you? And I think that's very important with the different things and just how the economy is growing in so many different ways, the different identities and how people identify. We want to make sure not only is a person good for the job, but how are they with other people? And you touched on that, and that's very, very important. I know when we were younger, we didn't have the techniques and things taught about on social emotional learning. And you hit on that because a lot of that is true to the nature of working. You have your skill set, but also the social emotional learning and working with others. And I just thank you for touching on that because it's very important. A lot of our, youth, they see a lot of people, they coming up, they get these roles, but they need to understand, the work behind the scenes. And that's why we appreciate you. We appreciate the others that have came to speak with us and have these chats because you all have brought so much, just so much meat. And that's what I call it. So much meat and so much I just say just so much feedback that is needed. And of course, when you're in this field and you're working with the kids, you can say it all day long, as I stated, like a parent, but hearing people that's in the work now, doing the work, and then they're still touching on those basic skills, it's phenomenal. So once again, thank you so much. I don't have any questions. You did an awesome job, and thank you so much for sharing your story as well as the time with us this evening. Star, do you have anything?
No, Christopher, thank you so much. I know you probably saw Portia and I writing, and like she said, even though it's maybe for the students, I get so much out of listening to other people speak about just their journey and the things that they learned. I think it's just such a great reminder of all the really important things. And you touched on, I mean, I probably have 20 bullet points. So thank you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much just for sharing all of that and for being really honest and real with your journey and saying there are going to be hardships and obstacles, but here are ways, to work through them. And you touched on the idea of, you know, being open to pivoting and being open to learning. And those are lifelong skills, right? That we all need to continue um, to tap into. So thank you for that. That was great.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't. Are we still recording?
Yep, we're still
Okay.
recording.
Yeah, I was gonna say I forgot to. I guess you mentioned about the step process, and I was gonna say, um, as you mentioned, a lot of my journey has been steps to where I'm at today, and I'm still climbing, honestly. But
Yeah,
looking back
yeah.
from where I started, it was like I grew up in a single parent household, so it's my mom and I and whatever pet we had at the time. We moved around a lot. Some we were homeless, I guess, once when we were in Houston. So that was it was tough for sure. But I mean, she did a great job. She sacrificed a lot for me. She was always there. But being an only child, you're gonna be by yourself a lot. So I think that's where I grew up from, that more introvertedness, because there's nobody to talk to. That's where I didn't have a choice. So I was naturally just kind of quiet. Um, but it's also, like I said before, sacrificing. So taking care of the people who took care of you on your journey is also very important. Giving back. That's why I'm doing this now, because I feel like I didn't have a lot of the information I'm saying uh, now back then. I was just all about working hard. So my grandma would bake cakes, and I would like cut slices of it and I would sell it at school. I used to sell my lunch for like $5 a day, and I would go get ramen for like $1 and just eat that and just pocket the rest of it. So it went from that to, and I'm able to help my mom out. I'm able to pay her bills now. So I'm in like a much better position now, and I'm still climbing. Um, but it took a lot to get even here, and it's gonna take even more. So definitely want to encourage people. I took a lot of prayer, a lot of surrounding myself with the right kind of people, removing myself from the wrong people. Sometimes remove myself from everybody in isolation a lot, just to make sure I was getting myself where I needed to be. So that was another sacrifice. It's not only time, you might sacrifice relationships, money, just whatever it is, whatever it looks like for whatever individual. Um, but yeah, that's something else I just wanted to put in real quick.